Thanks to the Star Trek community for requesting this video. While Star Trek is well known for its variety of heroic Starfleet captains, it's also a little infamous for its tendency to make Starfleet's admirals somewhat evil. Sometimes, these admirals serve as foils for the captains that have to answer to them, at other times, they're corrupt, incompetent, or just plain evil. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the worst of these bad admirals. Yes, badmirals. The most memorable examples are one of Star Trek's most time-honoured tropes. Let's go. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host, Captain Jack. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. We're enjoying making these Star Trek videos on various topics, and we hope you're enjoying watching them. If you want to support their development, please join our Patreon via the link below. You'll get exclusive access to videos and events, as well as more Galaxy class rewards. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Okay, engage. First off, we have Fleet Admiral Cartwright, as seen in the Star Trek films, The Voyage Home, and The Undiscovered Country. Cartwright was one of Starfleet's highest ranking flag officers in the final years of the 23rd century, and he served Starfleet with distinction, playing a key role in resolving the whale probe crisis of 2286. As far as was shown in the films, he was good at his job and loyal to Starfleet, but he, nonetheless, earns a place on this list for his role in the conspiracy to sabotage peace talks between the Federation and Klingon Empire. In 2293, as the Federation and the Klingons steadily moved towards rapprochement, Admiral Cartwright was opposed to peace between the two powers. He believed that Starfleet should instead take advantage of a weakened state of the Klingon Empire and attack, crushing the Empire and eliminating the threat the Klingons posed to the Federation. To that end, he and his co-conspirators assassinated Klingon Chancellor Gorkon and framed Captain James T. Kirk for the crime. However, the conspiracy was ultimately revealed to the public, and Cartwright was taken into custody for his role in it. Fleet Admiral Cartwright was one of the worst of Starfleet's bad admirals, not just for attempting to subvert the Khitomer talks, but also for why he did so. The pursuit of peace and cooperation with other peoples was a fundamental goal of the Federation. Starfleet's job was to prevent conflict, not start it for political gain. Cartwright's warmongering betrayed the core principles of Starfleet and the Federation, and it was especially unbecoming of such a high-ranking officer. Moving on to the 24th century, this was a time that was apparently rife with terrible admirals. We have Rear Admiral Noah Sati, who was infamous for a role in the investigation aboard the Enterprise D that quickly turned into a witch hunt. In 2367, after the Enterprise suffered an explosion near the warp core, Admiral Sati uncovered a Romulan spy aboard the ship, the Klingon scientist Jedan. The original explosion was soon determined to have been an accident, but Sati becomes convinced of a grand conspiracy aboard the Enterprise, reasoning that Jedan could never have gotten aboard the ship without assistance from other Romulan collaborators. Sati quickly descended into paranoia, which was inflamed by the anti-Romulan bigotry, leading her to go after the half-Romulan officer, Simon Tarsis. As the Admiral's investigation of Tarsis quickly morphed into outright persecution, Captain Picard began to oppose her methods, leading Sati to accuse him of disloyalty and being part of a non-existent Romulan conspiracy. Ultimately, Rear Admiral Sati's conduct alienated the higher-ranking Admiral Thomas Henry, who suspended Sati's investigation before she could do any more damage. Admiral Sati may have not committed any crimes as serious as Admiral Cartwright's, but her paranoia, bigotry, and extreme self-righteousness were nonetheless dangerous qualities for a flag officer to have. While she was ostensibly a great investigator, at least early in her career, her performance aboard the Enterprise demonstrates that, later on, her flaws began to seriously undermine her own judgment. The next year, in 2368, the Enterprise D again had to deal with one of Starfleet's worst admirals, Vice Admiral Kennelly. Kennelly collaborated with the Cardassians to take out a cell of Bajoran resistance fighters, who the Cardassians had convinced him were terrorists responsible for the attack on the Federation colony Solarion 4. In secret cooperation with the Cardassians, Kennelly attempted to have his subordinates in Starfleet pacify the resistance cell, assigning Ensign Roland to the Enterprise for the mission. However, Kennelly had been duped. The Cardassians themselves had destroyed Solarion 4, and they would have used Starfleet to do their own dirty work for them were it not for Ensign Rowe's intervention. Once Kennelly's collaborations with the Cardassians were exposed, Picard predicted that he would be court-martialed for his actions. Vice Admiral Kennelly was extremely gullible for someone so high-ranking, but the fact that he was willing to collaborate with the Cardassians in persecuting their colonial victims under any pretext is damning on its own. Kennedy claimed to Picard that he was doing the best to maintain the peace between the Federation and Cardassian Union, but there's a difference between maintaining the peace and being a doormat, and at best, that's what Kennedy turned out to be. Next, we have Vice Admiral Layton, a once exemplary officer that lost the plot during the Dominion Cold War. After Starfleet learned that the Federation had been infiltrated by changelings, Admiral Layton was one of several high-ranking Starfleet officers that pushed for implementing draconian and evasive security measures aimed to protect Earth. When the Federation president rejected this proposal, and the changelings subsequently carried a bombing on Earth, Admiral Layton came to believe the president and the Federation's civilian government were unprepared to deal with the threat of the Dominion. In response, Layton began planning a military coup d'etat. He and his co-conspirators orchestrated acts of sabotage on Earth and on Deep Space Nine to inflame paranoia and build support for the coming coup, but his agent on Deep Space Nine, Lieutenant Aragar, was captured. When Sisko discovered Layton's scheme, the coup attempt was publicly exposed before it could begin, and the Admiral was forced to resign. In his paranoia over changeling infiltration, Vice Admiral Layton arguably did more damage than the changelings could themselves, contributing to the instability in the Federation and sabotaging civilian infrastructure on Earth. He was so committed to rooting out the enemy within that he became an enemy of the people as a whole. Even in the early stages of his military coup, Admiral Layton proved the wisdom of an admiral from another of Ronald D. Moore's shows.
There's a reason why you separate military and the police. One fights the enemy, the state. The other serves and protects the people. When the military becomes both, then the enemies of the state tend to become the people.
Our next bad admiral is Vice Admiral Dougherty, who, on top of being complicit in horrible things, had the misfortune of appearing in Star Trek Insurrection. We're joking, it's an alright film. During the Dominion War, Dougherty collaborated with the Sonar on a plan to forcibly relocate the Baku people from their homeworld, so the Sonar could harvest metaphasic particles from the planet's rings, which Dougherty believed could significantly advance medical science. Dougherty got the Federation Council to approve the operation, but he concealed part of the plan from them, not wanting a forced relocation of the Baku to become public knowledge.
Jean-Luc, we're only moving 600 people.
How many people does it take, Admiral, before it becomes wrong?
Dougherty himself was being deceived. The Sonar were actually an offshoot of the Baku, and they wanted to destroy their parent culture as revenge for being exiled from the planet decades before. When Admiral Dougherty learned of this, he attempted to put a stop to the operation, but he was beaten and murdered by the Sonar's leader. Dougherty was unaware of the worst aspects of the Sonar's plan, but he was nonetheless willing to collaborate with a society of known slavers to ethnically cleanse the peaceful people from their homeworld. Had Dougherty's plan succeeded, it would have resulted not just in the expulsion of the Baku, but also the destruction of their culture. Needless to say, cultural genocide is hardly compatible with the principles of Starfleet, and while Dougherty might have had good intentions, what he tried to do was vile. Over to the animated series of Star Trek Lower Decks, we have Vice Admiral Les Bonamingo. While many of the other bad admirals on this list earn their spot for one bad call that exposed deep flaws, Bonamingo's whole career was riddled with misdeeds, though they were carefully covered up. These misdeeds all surround the development of a Texas-class automated starship, which Bonamingo hoped would cement his place in history. As part of the development of the Texas-class, Bonamingo covered up the accident that horrifically maimed a cadet that was working for him, Sam Rutherford, and had his memory erased and personally altered to cover up the whole incident. When the Texas class finally neared completion, Bonamingo set the USS Cerritos up for failure on 2 missions, so that his automated USS Alito could come to save the day, making the Cerritos' California class appear obsolete by comparison. After Ensign Rutherford regained his memories, and then exposed Bonamingo's misdeeds, he even ordered the USS Alito to destroy the Cerritos in order to prevent him from derailing his pet project. Instead, the Alito blew up his office on his starbase and killed him upon gaining autonomy, following which the Texas-class starships went on a rampage. In the end, the Texas-class did cement Bonamingo's place in history, but this was for an egomaniac who unleashed a destructive threat upon the Federation, not as an innovator and hero of Starfleet. Needless to say, he was unworthy of the uniform. Next up, we've got Rear Admiral Eric Pressman. He was active in the 24th century, and by 2370 had become a Rear Admiral in Starfleet intelligence. However, his career had been marked by shady dealings with illegal technology. Early in 2358, Pressman was captain of the Rebirth-class USS Pegasus. He was placed in charge of testing an experimental phase cloaking device, which had been developed by a secret group at Starfleet Security. However, it was in direct violation of a Treaty of Algeron. This treaty effectively banned the use of cloaking technology aboard Federation starships. When the crew of the USS Pegasus found out what was going on, they mutinied against Captain Pressman. The captain and a small group of officers, which included Ensign William T. Riker, were able to escape the Pegasus by fighting their way to the escape pods. Once away, they observed what appeared to be the destruction of a Pegasus and the apparent loss of a vessel. When Pressman and the surviving crew returned, they faced a board of inquiry with the Judge Advocate General. This was about the mutiny and the apparent loss of the ship. Pressman ordered his remaining crew not to share the nature of the experimental technology aboard the Pegasus. Information around the Pegasus was eventually classified. Pressman rose to the rank of Rear Admiral by 2370. In 2370, when intelligence operatives within the Romulan High Command learned that the Romulans had become aware of the Pegasus experiment, Pressman was chosen to head up a mission to retrieve the ship. Pressman boarded the Galaxy-class USS Enterprise D and commanded a vessel to take in the Pegasus' last known location. Pressman also took advantage of a relationship he had with Enterprise First Officer, Commander Riker, ordering him to aid him during the mission without telling Picard. Eventually, Captain Picard figures things out and promptly orders Pressman to be placed under arrest. Even though the Admiral warned Picard that he had lots of friends at Starfleet Command, this was the last we saw of the corrupt Admiral.
What happened was a tragedy, yes, but it wasn't your fault and it wasn't mine. What we were doing was for the good of the Federation, and we can't blame ourselves if the others couldn't see that.
I know, but maybe we went about it the wrong way.
So that's a look at some of the worst of Starfleet's terrible admirals. Did we miss someone you think should have been on this list? Comment below. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. A big thank you to everyone who supported us on Patreon. Your support allows us to continue making these Galaxy-class videos. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.